Welcome to the 2018 Volkswagen Polo GTi. So this is the GTi version of the Polo, so it makes it the sort of top of the range Polo. Got a nice little sound to it as well. A couple of things you need to know about this Polo. Firstly, this is the first time that Volkswagen have put a 2-liter engine in the GTi Polo. It's always been a 1.4 and I think a 1.6. It produces 147 kilowatts. So basically it's the Golf GTi engine. It's just been detuned to 147 kilowatts. It can do 0 to 100 in about 6.7 seconds. But it's quite significant that they've gone this route of making the Polo bigger. And I discussed that in my sort of review of the normal Polo, which I'll link below. But they've made the Polo bigger, and that means they can now squeeze a 2-liter engine in here. On the outside, they have added a good collection of red GTi badges, and they've added that red sort of stripe on the grille, which you'll find in the Golf GTi as well. There are also red brake calipers, which come standard on the Polo GTi. And all this red actually works really well with this specific GTi. It's a pearl black GTi. That's one of the sort of 4 or 5 color options that you get, and all those sort of red and black just works really well. So you've got all these red GTi badges on the sort of deep pearl black body, and it just looks really funky with the red badging. And then they've carried that red sort of theme to the inside. It's quite cool how they've integrated the red in this dash. It's called velvet red on the inside. So it's kind of got a very, I suppose, velvet texture to it. It's not shiny. It's not like that piano black that you're used to seeing in the VWs. And it actually looks really funky. And there's like everything's contrasted with the black. It just looks really cool. That sort of red runs all the way from the door handle on that side right across to the door handle on this side, and then extends down around the gear lever at the bottom here. Speaking of the gear lever, it is a DSG gear lever. The 6-speed DSG in the Polo comes standard, so there's no manual option. They've just said this is a performance car, it gets the DSG. I'm very much in favor of that. I know not everybody is, but I'm a huge fan of the DSG gearbox. And then in between all the red on the dash, you've got a active info display behind the steering wheel. That is an optional extra. You probably pay quite a lot for it, but it's really cool. It's accented with red little lines everywhere. The 8-inch touchscreen on the left here is also an optional extra, but well worth it. It's got sort of navigation, it's got app interfaces. If you plug your phone into the lightning cable, you have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto if you've got an Android. While there are optional extras, I feel like on a car like this, to really complete the experience, that's quite cool. You've got sort of performance, you've got these sort of suede plush leather seats. It's just like a really well-rounded package. And I know that's something I say about Volkswagen every time I drive one, but they really have mastered the art of just sort of rounding everything up and delivering like a really cool package. So on the active info display here, you have a little button. It's controlled by the steering wheel, multifunctional steering wheel. The active info display is controlled by the cluster on the right, and the cruise control is all on the left. On the right hand side, there's this view option, and if you click the view option, it actually flips through a couple of different views. So the primary view is kind of your speedometer and your rev counter. That's there. You press it again and it kind of changes. There's a little picture of the Polo in the center, gives you consumption to the right, average speed to the right, how long you've been driving for, the distance you've driven, kind of your driving data neatly sort of summed up for you. Bottom left shows you your gear, bottom right shows you the speed you're going. Press it again and everything like changes. It keeps the gear and the speed in the same place, but it just reorganizes that data, adds the date at the top right, and the distance you can drive. Press it again and it goes back to the sort of dials. And on the left you've got your temperature, on the right you've got your fuel gauge. It's really cool. It just fits into the car. It's like it's a really fun place to drive and to be and to sit. If you flip through these things, you have navigation built in, You've got audio built in, you've got your telephone you can go to, you've got your vehicle status. There's even a lap timer. So if you do end up on the track with your Polo GTi, you can, you can do a couple of laps and time them. You started by pressing the OK button on the cluster, press the button again, and it stops it. So the Polo GTi is basically the Polo with like a whole bunch of really cool little optional extras built in. Some you're going to pay for, and I'd highly recommend doing exactly that. But it's a really great little car with a couple of really cool features in it.